Jesus was not a Christian. There's a grim irony in the way history eats its own. Christianity as an institution, its crosses and rituals and walls came long after Jesus was gone, a post-mortem shadow cast by those who needed order more than revelation. You can almost feel the weight of centuries layering sediment over what he actually was. Not a church founder, not a distant figurehead, but a living contradiction, both man and symbol, torn by the forces that would later claim his name. Yet there was something older, something the ancients called Christ consciousness. It wasn't a religion, it was a state of being, a method of perceiving, of waking up to the gnawing sense that there is more to the world than the visible. The Essenes whispered about it in the desert. The mystics of Egypt mapped it as the path of the inner sun. It's an idea that survived the flames, encoded into Gnostic texts and veiled parables, less about worship, more about transformation, a call to awaken, not obey. But then there's Jehovah, or as he is sometimes called, Yahweh. I track his footsteps across the archaeological record. He doesn't start in the Bible. He emerges from the cuneiform tablets of Akkad and Babylon, his name older than the nation that later made him supreme. Jehovah is not some distant creator god. He's a person, an entity, once worshipped, later sanitized, finally canonized into something almost unrecognizable, and the reality behind the myth is dark. The being who wore the name Jehovah, the entity invoked by the devout, was not a gentle shepherd. The ancient tablets speak of a ruler, not a god. A being capable of violence on a scale that dwarfs human atrocity, killing for pleasure, issuing floods, demanding loyalty. These are the hallmarks of power unchecked by empathy, the kind of authority that leaves trauma echoing through generations. Take Yeshua, Jesus again. In the Sinai Bible, a text predating the King James Version by 1,000 years, there is no mention of his sacrifice. The story shifts. Yeshua is not a lamb led to slaughter, but a seeker, a healer who traveled east, learning how to channel energy through his hands. In Tibet, he studied with masters of Ki, of Reiki, of healing traditions that would later be dismissed as heresy. He became a conduit, a bridge, a living example of the consciousness. He spoke of healing not through ritual, but through presence. But the narrative always finds its way back to Yahweh Jehovah. Consider the Jehovah's Witnesses. The very name is a claim of ownership, of witness to the supremacy of this God. But the roots of the name go deeper. Jehovah is a linguistic artifact derived from the German Jawi, which itself is an evolution of the Assyrian Ayahu or Yahu. In English, the J sound is an anachronism, a modern affectation. The name should begin with a Y, a breathy sound like a whisper in a cave. In the United States, the letter J was cemented by convention, not by history. But there's more. During the Second World War, the Jehovah's Witnesses in Germany wrote to the Nazi regime, seeking approval, offering prayers for the success of Hitler's government, believing perhaps that their God would preserve them through the storm. Even faith can be twisted into survival or complicity. And here's the deeper secret. According to Sumerian texts, Yahweh, the so-called Lord, is none other than Enlil, a powerful, wrathful figure in Mesopotamian myth, the creator of worlds. Hardly. Enlil was a warlord, a manipulator, someone whose reputation was so divisive that he began to shift the blame for evil onto his own brother, Enki. Enki, sometimes labeled Satan in later distortions, was cast as the villain, though he was the scientist, the life-giver, the one who shaped humanity from the clay of earlier beings, using not divine fiat, but genetic knowledge lost to time. Nothing was created from nothing. There was no Genesis ex nihilo. The Sumerian gods Enki, Enlil, Anu were players in a drama of power, rewriting each other's histories, weaponizing language. The line between God and devil was always a matter of perspective and survival. The translations, the mistranslations, the evolution of titles into names, of tribal chieftains into cosmic architects, were not accidents. They were acts of control, the ancient world's trauma, ritualized. In the end, you see patterns: violence in the guise of virtue, healing recast as heresy, the name of the victim repurposed by the victor. You see, too, the flickers of that ancient consciousness, Christ consciousness, trying to survive beneath the weight of institution. The drag of dogma. If you look closely, as I do, you can feel the old scars burning beneath the surface. The story isn't over. It's just waiting for the next investigator, someone willing to see, not just believe.